Okay, it's a review and a little bit of installation help for the Rugged Ridge Hurricane Flat Fender Flares for the Jeep JK. I have a 2011, and as you can see I have one installed on the driver's side so far, and wanted to let you guys know a few issues that I've had installing them. Overall, I think they're going to work out great. They're sturdy and they look fabulous. So anyways, before you get started, like anything, lay it out, have all your parts out, get familiar with it. One of the things, there's a few issues that I found right off the top. Actually, I didn't find this out till after I installed it. This is the bracket for your marker light. The bolt that it comes with, the head of it here, is 7 millimeters. This is a 10 millimeter opening, therefore when you put the carriage bolt in, it just spins around. So after I install that, I have that up in there and it will not tighten down. So not too happy about that. First thing you're going to need to do is get a carriage bolt that fits. Didn't come with that. Also, they shorted me on 3 of these nuts, which is not a big deal, but still you're going to have to go down to the hardware store or your local auto parts store and replace them. One other thing that they claim here with the marker light installation, they say you can use these connectors that it comes with, and they plug right in. Well, they don't. Can't really see it on these, but these are like a little knife point tang, and those will not even come close. So what you're going to have to do is take the original, so you can use the whole setup, and cut it off up here and install some butt connectors. So you're going to have extra butt connectors as well. So there are those 3 things to start with. So getting going on the rest of it, it's pretty straightforward. They don't tell you a lot about removing the factory flares. Pretty straightforward. I just use a pair of flush cut pliers, and there's these little panel buttons all the way along here that you can just cut right off. Wouldn't worry about saving any of this. You don't need it. It's easier to just cut it and let it go. Now the wheel well protectors, same thing. I believe there's 7 of these that hold this in place, and it's just easier to just pop those right off. Just cut them with a pair of dikes or whatever you have. That's the easiest way to get rid of it. And then the wheel well protector will come right out of there. Now to get the rest of the flare off, it's pretty simple. There's 3 10 millimeter bolts, one here, and one here, and then there's another bolt that I've already removed here that just comes out, and that is that's all that's holding this thing in. So the other thing is there's several brackets up here that go through the body, and that's the last thing holding the flare on, and all you need to really do is forcefully just pull on that. You're going to break them. Don't be afraid. You don't need to reuse them. Just pull it off. Of course, there's this bracket here that holds on the fender too, which is another 10 mil that you have to pop off, and that's where your bracket for your marker light will go when you get to that. So once you get the wheel well protector out, the first thing that you're going to need to do with that is to cut it, and it's not that big of a deal. You know, they do say just line it up to the edge of your body and mark it, cutting off this little piece and cutting off all of that flush. It's pretty straightforward. I used a Sawzall. You could use a jigsaw. Make short work of it. Doesn't have to be pretty, and I would err on the side of cutting it a little long. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do is put the actual flare on. There's 3 of these bolts that go through with the 45 millimeter washers they provide. Again, there's a very small channel behind this, and it's a real challenge to get a nut on there. So that's one of the time-consuming things. So you start with those 3, and then you have another 10 mil bolt that goes into a bracket with threads in there, so you don't need a bolt on that one. And then this one's a little tricky up behind the top of the flare. You have to get a nut on, and then there's 3 more, 1, 2, 3 here that you have to get a nut behind. And again, those are all real tricky, time-consuming to get your hands back there. and get a nut on them and get them tightened. Now, I would recommend leaving the flare loose because you have to have the wheel well protector fit in behind these tabs on the flare, and it helps to have it loose. So what's holding the flare in is this bolt here. That's a factory bolt that you removed, and there's another one up there with a 45mm washer, and then this bolt here, which also would recommend putting a couple extra washers in there because it's a little loose. And those are the main things. Once you tuck it in behind the fender flare, it's pretty sturdy. Those 3 bolts are the main things that hold the wheel well protector in there. One thing I don't like, and this wasn't the way it was in the factory as well, is this lower part flaps around. Sorry about the lighting here. It's hard to see, but this is the Hurricane fender flare here. And what I'm going to do is just drill a small hole and put a nut and a bolt on there to tighten that up and protect it so it's not flapping around in the wind. That's really the installation. Like I said, it's not really that hard. It's just time consuming, kind of a pain in the ass, some of it, but overall well worth it. Again, these look great. I can't wait to get the backs on too. Much nicer than stock. It's going to give you plenty of clearance for bigger tires, and again, you can kind of see the difference between the old stock and a new look. Really nice, aggressive. Yeah, sorry about the lighting here, guys, but hope that helped. I think they're great flares. Just be aware of those things I was talking about early in the video. Missing parts, wrong size parts, and dealing with a couple other little aggravations. Other than that, I think these are quite worth it. That's my review. Thank you.